Okay, so we're going to talk about a word you think you know, but probably not in this way. It's a biological master switch that's, quietly running the show behind the scenes of your life every single day. And that word is arousal.
Just think about it for a second. That high stakes job interview, a jump scare in a horror movie, or even that first jolt from your morning coffee. I mean, what on earth could they all possibly have in common? Well, they all trigger the exact same system in your body.
And there it is. That's the connection. Each of these completely different experiences plugs right into your body's arousal system. It's this powerful biological engine that basically dictates how you feel, how you think, and yeah, how you perform. Now, I know when we say arousal, it's pretty easy for our minds to go straight to one place. But in neuroscience and psychology, the term is so much bigger than that. You should think of it as your body's fundamental on switch. So let's get the official definition out of the way. Arousal is simply the state of being awake, alert, and reactive to everything happening around you. It's the basic level of activation in your nervous system. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a volume knob for your brain. It can be turned way down low when you're sleepy or cranked up to 11 when you're, say, facing a threat. And this one system is, and I mean this, incredibly important. It regulates everything from your basic state of being conscious and your ability to pay attention, all the way to how well you process information. It's also the engine behind your motivation, kicking off critical survival tools like the fight or flight response. Okay, so if arousal is our on switch, then more is always better, right? Well, not exactly. Like with most things in our biology, it is all about finding the right balance. There's this really delicate relationship between our level of arousal and our ability to actually perform at our best. This is exactly what happens at the extremes. If you have too little arousal, you're bored, you're tired, and your performance just tanks. You can't focus because you're understimulated. But on the flip side, with too much arousal, you become anxious, jittery, and totally distracted. And again, your performance plummets. Sound familiar to anyone? This idea actually has a name. It's called the Yerkes-Dodson law. And it's basically the Goldilocks principle for your brain. For any task, there's a just right level of arousal that leads to peak performance. You're alert, you're engaged, but you're not overwhelmed. That right there, that's the sweet spot. So what's really fascinating here is the why. Why is being over-aroused so bad for performance? Well, the Easterbrook hypothesis has a pretty cool answer. It suggests that when we're highly stressed, our attention narrows down like a spotlight. I mean, think about a time you were in an argument. You get so focused on winning that you might completely miss the look on the other person's face. Your brain literally starts filtering out what it decides is non-essential information. And get this whole idea of a sweet spot might actually help explain something even more fundamental about us, our personality. It turns out that our baseline level of arousal, our natural starting point, could be a key factor in whether we're an introvert or an extrovert. This chart just perfectly illustrates the theory from psychologist Hans Eysenck. He argued that introverts are basically born with a nervous system that's already more aroused. Their internal volume is already turned up pretty high, so they tend to avoid intense situations to keep from getting totally overwhelmed. Extroverts, on the other hand, have a naturally under-aroused system, so they're out there seeking parties, loud music, and intense experiences to get their arousal level up to that optimal sweet spot. So a quick spike in arousal can be a good thing, and our baseline level helps shape who we are. But what happens when that arousal switch gets flipped on and then just gets stuck there? What happens when the system gets jammed in the on position? Well, that's when we start wandering into the really dangerous territory of toxic stress. And here's the clinical definition. Toxic stress isn't just having a bad day or a tough week. No, it is a specific physiological state where the stress response, our arousal system, has been activated so intensely or for so long that it actually starts to break down and damage other systems in the body. So, this is the crucial takeaway right here. Your body is designed for short bursts of high arousal. It's a survival mechanism. What it's not designed for is to be stuck in high alert mode 24/7. That chronic activation is what turns a healthy, normal response into something really harmful. For the longest time, we've just said we feel stressed. But that's not very specific, is it? Well, luckily, researchers are now developing new ways to map out exactly what toxic stress does to our biology. And one of the most promising is something called the stress phenotyping framework. What you're looking at here is that map. Instead of seeing stress as just one big, messy feeling, this framework breaks it all down. You can see on the left the different kinds of stressors, and then in the middle, it shows the key biological systems they impact. You've got the immune system, cognitive processes, and yep, right there in the second row, our arousal and energy system. The really cool part is that it maps whether each system becomes overactivated or underactivated, giving us a much clearer picture of what's actually going on under the hood. Let's just zoom in on that arousal and energy system for a second to really see how this works. On the left, you see the biological causes, things like your sleep cycle getting all messed up, or changes in your brain's electrical activity. And on the right, that's the effect. That's the real-world impact. This shows us that feeling stressed isn't just in your head, it has real, measurable consequences, like chronic fatigue, sleep problems, anxiety, and even depression. This new map connects all the dots. And that right there is the real power of this new way of thinking. It lets us move beyond a vague feeling and gives us a biological roadmap. By figuring out which specific systems are out of whack, we can start developing much more targeted and hopefully much more effective treatments for what chronic stress does to our bodies. So we'll end with a question that's a bit more personal. Now that you've seen this map, and you can see how this one master switch is connected to literally everything from your sleep and energy to your mood and attention, it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Which parts of your own system might be signaling that they're overworked? Because learning how to manage that switch isn't just interesting science. It's the absolute key to taking back control of your own well-being.